it's Nina Carmichael, and we make these videos because you're probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get the push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, my husband, Evan Carmichael. If you want to know about the entrepreneur success formula explained in detail, stay, watch this video. Enjoy! Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1, solve a problem.
I'm going to teach you the entrepreneur success formula. This is the formula. It's very simple. It's easy to apply, that when you actually execute it, it will change the course of your life and your business. The entrepreneur success formula. Are you ready? You need to, if you want to have success as an entrepreneur, combine what you love doing with what brings value to other people. People mess this up. What you love doing with what brings value to other people. In that intersection is your next great, genius, amazing business idea. Here's what most people do. Most people just pick one. Most people either pick what they love doing, but they can't figure out how to bring value to other people, so you've got a hobby. If you love doing something, it just fills you up, it's amazing, but it never brings value to other people, then you never get paid. You've got a really fulfilling hobby. And that could be great. And your hobby can be something you do in the evenings and weekends, and it fills up your soul, but you'll never turn that into a business if you don't figure out how to bring value to other people. So you're stuck always having to have a job or go work for somebody else while you're doing your hobby on the weekends, evenings, on the side, etc. So those are the people who just chase what they love doing, right? They chase your passion. Amazing. There's other people, a lot of entrepreneurs who just go after the money. Just try to bring value. Just go after opportunity, right? That's the only focus. Like, I'll do whatever it takes. I need to be a millionaire by the time I'm X years old. I'll do whatever it takes, but you won't. You will not do whatever it takes. Because as soon as it gets hard, you're going to lose. And the problem is you're going up against people who love it. Pick whatever industry. You open up a magazine or website, it shows you the hottest businesses for next year. These are the industries that will take off, and you have to get into it. It's like, oh, wow, that's hot. I'm going to go off and do those things. If you don't absolutely love it, right? This part here, if you don't actually love it, what you love doing, what it brings value to other people, if you don't absolutely love it, you're going to lose because you're going up against people who do love it. If it's just a strategy for you, but for other people, they love it, you're going to lose every time. You're going to lose every time. Because while you're counting the hours and while you're trying to figure out, oh my gosh, when is this going to pay off? You're going up against people who aren't even tracking it, who get lost in it, who 12 hours later, they're still doing the thing because they love it so much and they can't believe that, like, where is the time gone? So it has to be in that combination. So many entrepreneurs start a business because they think they're going to make a lot of money, and they end up going broke. And it wasn't because the idea was bad. The idea could have been fantastic. The problem was you didn't love it enough. You didn't care about it enough. It was just a strategy. It was just an opportunity for you instead of being actually something that you love. So the entrepreneur success formula, you start with doing what you love, and then you figure out how to bring value to other people doing it. Another way I like to explain it is your heart and your head. So you make the big decisions in life with your heart and the small ones with your head. What you work on, what you do, what you're spending your time on day in, day out has to be heart driven. It's got to be something that fills you up with so much joy. But then your head needs to be part of the equation too, to say, okay, heart, that's great that you love doing this thing, but how are we going to make money? How are we going to bring value to other people? So you make the big decisions with your heart, and then you use your head to figure out how to make it actually practical. So you're not just daydreaming constantly in la la land, we're actually turning it into something that can have a massive impact on the world. The entrepreneur success formula. You got to do what you love and figure out a way to bring value to other people doing it. When I started making my YouTube channel, I never thought I was going to make money. I did it because I love doing it. I did it because I wanted visual content. I'm a visual learner. I struggled in reading books. It took me a long time. When I read a book, unless it's really short chapters and really spaced out well, I would find myself reading 5 pages of the book and then realizing I read 5 pages and I have no idea what I just read. So I had to go back and read those 5 pages again. I would look how long a chapter was and see, oh my gosh, it's 40 pages, this chapter. This is going to kill me. I read because I needed to, because I wanted knowledge, but it was a really inefficient way for me to learn. I'm a visual learner. I like to see things. And so I said, well, why hasn't somebody made this? And I wanted to be around successful, famous entrepreneurs because I didn't have anybody in my life who had achieved what I wanted to achieve. And so that was the root of why I started making my videos and my content. And before YouTube, I had my website, which was similar idea of sharing the stories of famous entrepreneurs and what you can learn from their success. So I did it for myself and then figured out how can I do this so that I can make money doing it, so that I can do this as my full-time thing, so that I can recruit a team of people to help me do this. So now we've got a team of people who are all building these channels with me so I can create even more impact and make even more videos. The combination led first with what I love doing. I want to create content that speaks to 19-year-old Evan who was struggling, who doesn't know what to do, who was making $300 a month, was broke, who wanted to do something big but had very little belief in himself and didn't have a plan for what to do next. I still make my videos for 19-year-old Evan. And I had to figure out a way to turn it into a profitable business so that I can have a bigger reach and be able to do this full-time plus and have a team to help me do it. Entrepreneur Success Formula, what you love doing with what brings value to other people. Okay, so how do we do it? How do we start to figure out that process? That's an easy formula, but underneath it, let's dive a little deeper to give you even more value. Step number one is embrace the and. Most people are thinking or. Most people are thinking, do I do this or do I do this? Do I do this business or do this business? If you think about your passions and your interests, right? What do you love doing? What's your heart-centered thing that you could do all day? You probably have a couple things and you feel like you have to pick. This is the mistake. People feel like you have to pick. You don't have to pick. The actual selection is in doing both of those things combined. A lot of people have said some amazing things of me. It's very humbling. I think of Ed Milet and Gary Vee, where Gary Vee called me the DJ that likes to watch so much content and then spin it to inspire people. And Ed Milet said that I'm the modern day Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill is the biggest influence of all time in personal development, and I'm the modern day Napoleon Hill. First off, that's extremely humbling, but why are they saying that? This is how I'm unique, because I love consuming all of this stuff and I love spinning it and mixing it up as well as adding my own message to things. This is how I'm different. There's a lot of people who are just sharing their message, and there's a lot of people who are also mixing things together, but there's nobody who's really mixing things together and sharing their own message, right? So instead of looking at those two things as different, right? Like I have to pick, I got to pick this or this. Like I'm going to combine them, and that's how I'm going to be unique. So think about your different interests. What do you love doing? What are your top 2-3 things that you can get lost in, and they feel completely different? Your genius is going to be in actually mixing those things together in a way that's never been done before, and then using that to bring value to people. Stop thinking or, and instead embrace the and. Step number 2 is try to get as close to customers as possible. So it's great to be making, it's great to be creating, it's great to be, imagineering of where you could go. When you start to solve the problem for yourself, that's a great step 1, because there's probably a lot of people who currently are who you used to be, and seeing how you solved it for yourself, sharing the videos. I need the videos for myself, and then I share them, and it helps other people, right? So I solve the problem for me first, you solve the problem for you first, and know there's lots of people like you. But you need to start talking to customers. You need to start getting their feedback. You need to start seeing what they interact with. And that can help guide a lot of your future product or service creation. You need to get out of just sitting by yourself on your couch researching and into actually talking to people. So a quick example from my channel, the whole top 10 rules for success thing came because I just made one video on Kanye West. That's why he's on the wall behind me. I made one video on him, and then people started requesting more. Hey, can you do Dame Dash? Hey, can you do Jay-Z? Hey, can you do Jeff Bezos? Hey, can you do Steve Jobs? Hey, can you do these people? And it's like, well, that's a cool idea. Sure, why not? I could do that. I never thought of it as being a whole series. I just wanted to give a tribute to Kanye West, and it was a one-off video. And then in the videos that people were suggesting, can you do this person, this person, this person, this person? I still get final say. We ended up having over 2,000 different requests for people to profile. I still get final say as to who we profile, because I have to feel connected to the message. And when I'm pulling out the content, if we're doing Kanye West or Steve Jobs, it's always something positive. It's always through the lens of belief, because that's what I want to put out. I don't want to put out Kanye West's biggest attacks or insults or negativity. I don't want to put out negativity in the world. I could easily done top 10 Kanye West stupidest things you've ever done. I'm not interested in putting that out. So it's that combination of what people are asking for. Hey, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? Plus what I love doing, right? What I want to put my stake in the ground to say, I made this, right? This is the contribution that I'm trying to make to the world. Back to the entrepreneur success formula, right? What you love doing with what brings value to other people. So how to figure out what brings value to other people? You have to get as close to the customer as possible, understand their business, understand what they're going through, understand their mindset. You solving the problem for yourself is a good first step. And then going into, okay, what are you struggling with? So number one is embrace the end. Number two is get as close as possible to the customer. And then number three is solve a problem. Solve a problem. As you're talking to customers, as you're talking to people who will be using your product or your service, who will be engaging with your content, as you're talking to these people, what is the problem that they're facing? What is the struggle? What is the challenge that they're facing? And then help them accomplish it. If I apply it to myself and the YouTube channels for context, one of the biggest challenges I think people have is a very poor environment. You've got people in your life who keep you where you are. Some people may be telling you that you can't do things. That's the worst case scenario. Some people might be cheering you on, but they can't guide you. You're not inspired by them. The people around you are not inspiring enough for you. And that's why you're stuck, because the environment is keeping you small. Where if you are around higher achievers, if you're around Tom Bilyeu and Oprah Winfrey and Elon Musk and these people, they would pull you to be better. And so that's the biggest problem that I see the entrepreneurs that I love helping. Is you know you're capable of more. You've got this big mission inside you. You've got the heart and the care and the willingness to serve. You've got everything, but you're not being pulled forward by anybody. And so I want to try to create that through content, because you may not be able to hang out with Tom Bilyeu and Elon Musk and Oprah Winfrey, but every day on YouTube, you can hang out with Tom Bilyeu, Elon Musk, and Oprah Winfrey from the content that I'm going to make and create, right? So that's the problem that I'm trying to solve. And I get that because it was me who struggled with it, but also the people that I see who I connect with, who are watching the videos, they're leaving feedback for me. And I'm talking to them and I realize, you've got everything. You've got everything. You've got everything. You're just missing that environment to push you forward. So that's the problem that I solve. What is the problem that you solve? When you can combine your passions, right? Step number one, you're combining your passions. Step number two is we're talking to customers, people who are going to use potentially what we can create. And then you're understanding what their problem is and you solve it for them. That's how we start to build a successful business. Back to the entrepreneur success formula. If you get this formula, if you apply it, it's simple, it's basic, and it's one of the most powerful things you can ever do. And it's one of the biggest reasons why entrepreneurs don't win, despite having the heart and the care and the service. You have to combine the thing that you love doing with all your heart with something that brings value to other people. Bring those things together and you're onto your next successful business career. Good luck.
Rule number 2, make no excuses.
Successful people don't make excuses. Successful people don't complain. If you look at whoever you want to look up to, look at the most successful people in the world in any industry, look at the top and look at how much they complain. They don't complain. When you complain, when you blame something else, when it's the government's fault or interest rates' fault or the bad economy's fault or your partner who screwed you over or the customers who don't care, as long as you can blame somebody else, right? The education system, your parents, your friends, your upbringing, there's always somebody else to blame. And when you blame somebody else, when you're in that mindset, then you never grow. You're making things easy on yourself. It allows you to coast. It allows you to play life super safe because it's not your fault that you're not more successful. Of course, it's not your fault. That would be difficult. That would be hard. It's somebody else's fault. So you can just stay where you are because people are holding you back from accomplishing the thing that you want to accomplish. Where successful people take responsibility for where they are in life. And they say, I don't care about the government. I don't care who's president. I don't care about regulations that you have or things that you're holding me back on. I will still go out and get mine. And of course, there are other factors. Of course, the country you come from matters. Of course, the education you had and the connections you had growing up. Of course, it matters. But so what? You have to play the hand that you were dealt. You have these cards. You have to play those cards and you can have success. One of the things I love looking at, and this is why I do all these profiles, is successful, famous entrepreneurs. There is always somebody who has done way more than you have done with way fewer resources than you already have. So no matter what terrible situation that you have, and I'm empathetic, Maybe you come from a broken home. Maybe you have a really severe disability that's physically holding you back from doing some of the things you want to do. Maybe there's a lot of pressure on you. Maybe you have some disease. Maybe you have zero money in your bank account. These are real pressures, and I'm empathetic to that. But so what? The longer you believe that those things are going to hold you where you are, then they will. There are people who have worse conditions, less money, are in worse situations, and they came out of it and accomplished amazing things because they believed that they could. And if somebody looks like you has gone on and accomplished big things, then you can too. And it only happens when you accept responsibility for where you are in life.
Also, if you want to have more self-confidence and self-belief, the science says it can take up to 254 days of consecutive action for you to shift that habit forward. So I've designed a special free program to help you get more self-belief for every day. For 254 days, I will send you an email to an unlisted video that if you watch it, will shift your confidence forward. The links to join for free are in the description below.
So you have to really want to do it. If it's a bucket list thing that you have to do and you're deeply passionate about it, you have a message that you want to share, or this needs to come out, right? You need to give birth to this thing. It's that important to you. Then you should go out and do it.
Pick the right things to work on, and then 2, focus on executing those things.
Making videos every day. And I'm impatient as anything because I want it to be amazing. I want to make every video better than the last.
Rule number 3, figure out your who.
The language you use about yourself when you're by yourself is what will make or break your self-esteem. When we talk to other people, when we post on Instagram, when we share our lives, we always want it to look good and be amazing and be so positive, right? Most people's Instagram stories are just all of these amazing highlights and how beautiful my perfect life is. And then you go home when you're by yourself and you look at yourself in the mirror and people, cry themselves to sleep. What's the message when you talk to yourself? What's the message when you're alone? What are you saying about yourself? When you can start to fix that self-talk, that inner dialogue, that starts to shift everything inside you to then create amazing things outside you. I remember when I first got started making YouTube videos, my self-talk was in conflict because I had my parents who I remember the voice, there's a picture of my parents behind me on my wall in my office. And when people ask me what's my favorite quote of all time, it's what my parents used to tell me, that I'm Carmichael. I could do anything that I believe that I can. And that is a constant reminder that I still today, at 41, still use, still tell myself, still remind myself of, like, I am Carmichael. I can do anything that I believe that I can. And it's helpful and valuable, and what a gift. So grateful for my parents for that. When I was getting started on YouTube, though, the other voice that was in my head was, you're introverted, you're shy, you suck on camera, anybody who makes videos has a big ego, just needs to be famous. And so I really struggled with that because I had competing voices in my head. It wasn't even what other people were telling me to do. It was me, myself, when I'm by myself, thinking about myself. That constant inner struggle with the voices in my head left me struggling, left me making super slow progress, left me started and stop it and started and stop. And if you look at my videos, I started and then I took big breaks, and then I started again, then I took more big breaks. And it wasn't until I solved that inner conflict that I started to get more results, and I started to be more productive, and I started to stopping. I started to stop stopping. I stopped procrastinating. I just did it because I wasn't so caught up in my head and the discussion and the inner dialogue and the voices, and I just replaced it with better thinking about myself, better messages to myself. I think when you can do that, your life starts to change, because it's not other people's opinions that really shape us. It's other people's opinions that then influence our own self-talk, that's what shape us. And so when you shift that, everything starts to change. So how do you do it? How do you actually start to shift your self-talk forward? How do you see yourself in a more loving way? Let me give you some practical tips for what to do. You can start today.
One is to start to change your environment. So the more you're around people who are loving, caring, ambitious, living the life that you want, doing the things that you want, having the relationships that you want, having the business that you want, are not sitting there stuck and complaining. That's complaining and blaming together. It's complaining. People aren't stuck in that mode. The more they pull you forward, the more it forces a more positive self-reflection. So if you're around Elon Musk and Oprah Winfrey and Marissa Peer and Tony Robbins and hopefully Evan Carmichael, the more you're around these people, the more you will start to think like them. The more the way they see the world will start to influence the way you start to see the world. And it forces that self-reflection, because the easiest way to change your viewpoint on something is to change your environment. The fastest way to learn Japanese is to go to Japan, because you're around it constantly. So if you want to be more loving, be around people who are more loving. You want more self-confidence for yourself, be around people who are more self-confident. Nina's back!
Hello.
We love you, Nina.
Oh, sorry.
It
took a little bit long time.
That's okay. We've been filming. We've been making content. So step number 1 is just to change the environment. Step number 2 is figure out your who. Your who is your single most important core value. I wrote 2 books talking about it, Your One Word and Built to Serve. I believe that everybody has a single most important core value. And when you figure out what that is, it gives you a roadmap for the rest of your life. So you can pick up either book to figure it out, or just ask yourself, what is my single most important core value? You have to pick right now. What was your single most important core value? More important than all the others, not your list of 13 core values. 1, what is it? For me, it's belief. So everything I try to do is about belief. The videos I make, this video, the goal, the hope, the inspiration is to try to make you believe in yourself more. Maybe I accomplish that, maybe I don't, but it's always the intention going in. So when you figure out yours, whether it's belong or freedom or inspiration or motivation or happiness or care or love or believe or whatever it is, when you figure out what that is, 1, it gives you good perspective on why you haven't been happy. Anytime I'm not happy, it's because there's a lack of belief in my life. Either belief in myself and what I'm capable of, or I'm not spreading enough belief to others. Same thing for you. You figure out your who. Whenever you're not happy, it's because there's a lack of that in your life right now. And so if you want to hit the next step, it's by breaking through another barrier of your who. My next level of greatness is on the other side of even more belief in myself. I still lack belief in myself to get to the next step. And same thing for you. And so figuring out your most important core value gives you the area to work on. You know what you need more of in your life, and gives you a roadmap of how to actually get there. And then step number 3 is figure out what your trigger words are. What are your trigger words? What are the things that you say to yourself that keep you small, that keep you scared, that keep you safe, that keep you from living your dreams? What are the trigger words that you use? So for me, it's scary, difficult, and hard. Whenever I say scary, difficult, or hard, those are the things that have become my trigger words, and now I have to go do the things. Because I said them, because I wrote them, I texted them, I said them, I thought them, right? When you figure out what your trigger words are, then whenever you say them, it's an indication of, here I am again playing small. Here I am again telling myself that I can't do it. Here I am again accepting these reasons that I no longer want to accept. Being afraid is a classic one for a lot of people. Well, I didn't do it because I was afraid. And you've accepted the fact that you're afraid as being a good enough reason for you not to do the thing that you want to do. And I would like to challenge that and say that's no longer a good enough reason. Nope, not anymore. Not for you, not for what you're capable of, not for where you want to go, and not for the impact that you can have. Nope, not a good enough reason anymore. Let's go. So if you just sit and think about, what are the trigger words that you say? What's the language that you use that keeps you small, scared, protected, that you no longer want to be good enough reasons, that you want to be free of, rid of, and that we're taking from our subconscious mind automatic patterns into our conscious, into, no, I am going to make a change in my life. I no longer want to be this person. I need to evolve and grow and get better and be better because I'm capable, right? You. So when you figure out your trigger words and try to come up with them, it's a good exercise to do right now. What are the words that you tell yourself when you're scared, when you're afraid, when you've got big ideas, and you talk yourself down from it? What's the language you use? You can start by just taking on mine, scary, difficult, hard, or you can come up with your own. But the idea becomes anytime you see yourself using that language, it triggers you to then make a shift, to say, oh, okay, because I said that, because I said scary, difficult, or hard, now I'm going to do it just because I'm the kind of person who does scary, who does difficult, who loves hard. And when you can take those words that have previously disempowered you and flip them so that they become empowering for you, that's how you start to shift your identity forward. At the end of the day, the thing that matters is how you feel about yourself when you're by yourself. The language you use to talk about yourself, the messaging you have to yourself when you look at yourself in the mirror, when you're going to sleep, when there's nobody else around you. Because when you can build that self-belief, when you can build that self-love, when you can build that self-confidence, that self-esteem, that becomes the rocket fuel for you to build the great life for you, your family, the people around you, and create the impact that you know you're capable of having.
Rule number 4, kick yourself forward.
I think comparing yourself to others is actually fantastic. I think most people aren't even doing it enough. The challenge is people do it incorrectly. The problem is people compare themselves to others as a way to kick themselves down. You look at somebody else who's done a lot more than you, and you say, wow, they're so much better than me. I can never do it. And that's kicking yourself down. What you need to do, you flip it and say, wow, that person has done so much. That's what's possible. I'm comparing my beginning to their middle or to their end, which is an unfair comparison. They can get there, therefore I can go chase my dreams down as well. That's a kick forward. Most people kick themselves down. What you need is to kick forward. But without the kick, you stay stuck. So if you want to stay exactly where you are, don't compare yourself to anybody. You want to move forward, compare yourself in a loving way forward. This is a classic story of Roger Bannister, who broke the 4-minute mile, where it was supposed to be impossible to break the 4-minute mile. Nobody was ever supposed to be able to do it. And then he did it. And everybody thought your body would break down and that it just would never, ever, ever happen. And then Roger Bannister did it. And then what happened? Lots of other people did it. High school kids did it. People around the world have done it. Why? Because they saw somebody else do it. When you can compare yourself to somebody else and see that they can do it, that can be the inspiration to move yourself forward. Again, the kick forward. If you just look at that and say, wow, he's superhuman, I can never do it, then you're right, you stay stuck. But some people, the people who go off and win, the people who also have a happier life, look at that and say, I can do something similar. And people did. I actually heard about that Roger Bannister story through Les Brown. And when people ask me, who is my favorite motivational speaker, or who do you think is the greatest speaker of all time? I say Les Brown. I don't know who touches Les Brown. I mean, there's so many great speakers, so many amazing people out there. I've had the good fortune of connecting with a lot of them. But man, Les Brown, when he gets on a tear, it's something different. He takes you to a different world. And I remember when I first heard him, it's like, holy cow, this guy is so good. And it was at the start of my career of filming videos and making content. And I thought, how does he know those scripts, and how does he memorize those lines, and how does he just speak for an hour and not need notes or a PowerPoint or anything else? Like, this man is crazy. It's impossible. I could never get that good. And I used to compare myself in a negative way. Like, I could never be Les Brown. And then somewhere along the line, I flipped it to say, hey, I'm getting better. And I love what Les is doing because he's actually guiding the industry, because it's actually showing what's possible. That if he can do it, then I can do it too. He's actually paving the way for people like me to come up and be speakers as well. And I actually had the good fortune of last week being on a Facebook Live with him where he was interviewing me about my story. Like, what? Les Brown is interviewing me about my story? It's crazy. How did this happen? Because I used him as an inspirational kick forward. See, if you never see anybody who's like you doing it, it's really, really hard to get up and do. If you're the only person that you know in your family, and the only person that you know in your community, and the only person that you see online anywhere trying to do the thing that you want to do, it's really, 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 really hard to stay motivated. But when you can see somebody else, when you can model success, when you can have an example to follow, I think that makes the path easier because it gives you more hope, knowing that it's possible. The trick is, again, the key is, again, that in the comparison to somebody else, you're kicking yourself forward to say that's what's possible, not down to say I suck. So how do you do it? I'm going to give you 3 steps I think will really help. Step number 1 is really get clear on what is it that you want. What is the life that you want? What are the goals that you have for yourself? Where do you want to be in your health, in your relationships, in your business, your finances? What do you actually want out of life? Not what somebody else's perfect life looks like. Right? You go on Instagram and you see people living on the beach and rolling around in money. Like that, maybe that's what you want, but maybe it's not what you want. Right? We get pulled into all these different directions because we don't have clarity over what we actually want. So what do you actually want? What do you want out of life? Where do you want your business to be? What kind of company do you want to run? What are the ethics and morals that your company is based off of? Who do you want to serve and how do you want to help them? How do you want to show up in your relationship? Who are you looking for in your partner? If you already have a partner, how do you want to show up better for them? All of the things that matter to you, to get as clear as possible so that when you see somebody else is doing something else and they're happy, great. You don't have to go do it because you're happy chasing down your goals. Part of the challenge is we see other people who are happy, and often it's not even real happiness. It's just, fake happiness for the camera. But you see somebody who looks happy, you know that you're not happy, and you think, well, maybe if I did that, then I'll be happy. Maybe if I go write a poem like they did, I'll be happy. And then you start to write a poem and realize I hate writing poems, right? So it's getting clear over what do you actually want in your life? Who's the person that you want to be? And again, from your finances to your business, to the relationships, to your to health, the different areas of your life. Get as clear as you can on the things that you want out of your life. Step number 2 is figure out who's done it. Who's ahead of you in these things? One of the greatest lessons I've ever learned is that you can model success. That when you don't know what to do, somebody has done this before you. Somebody has figured this out. You don't have to come up with every genius idea yourself. This is the thing that ended up growing my business, my first company. When I wanted to quit on my business partner, I tried so many different things on my own, and they never seemed to work. But once I had a model, once I had a mentor, once I had a guide, once I had a path to follow, it became so much easier and I got success. Or looking at my YouTube channel, spending 5 years on my own trying to figure stuff out. Then once I got my agent who gave me some coaching on being better on camera, my channel started to take off, right? So without the model, I really struggled. With the model, I did really well. So for all the areas of your life that you want to fix, who's done it? And here's the key. There's no one person who's done everything. I've got all these people behind me on the wall. This is me here when I'm 8 or 9 years old and my parents behind me. And then I've got different people on my wall for different things. If I look at being a good father, right? I've got a 12-year-old son. How do I be a great father? I want to be a great father like my dad is. And I don't want to be a great father like Steve Jobs is because it didn't sound like he was a great dad. He had a lot of other great things. He was a great visionary, and I want to be a great visionary like Steve Jobs, but my father's not really a great visionary. So you're pulling different things from different people. One of the mistakes we make is you're looking for the perfect mentor to teach you everything. And when they have one flaw, we suddenly feel cheated or gypped or ripped off or deflated. Nobody's perfect. We're all in search of our own perfect life. And you'll be able to get that by pulling different people for different things. So once you've made your list of all the things that you want out of your life, then go find your different mentors and role models for those things. If you want more belief in your life, great. Watching my channel is probably going to really, really help you. If you want more fitness in your life, great. There's other channels you can subscribe to, right? If you want a better loving relationship, great. There's other channels you subscribe to for that, or books or podcasts that you can be around. That the more that you're around it, the more that it's part of your environment, you're going to start to take those messages in and it's going to become a part of you. You're going to think the way those people think, and you're going to get closer to actually achieving those goals. And then step number 3 is do something today. Do something today. We get trapped into overthinking and over-preparing and having the perfect schedule and the perfect plan. And it almost never works out, right? Your plan for what you were supposed to do a year ago is not the plan that you're doing right now. The perfect plan that you're trying to concoct in your head will never actually be the perfect plan until you get out there and you start executing and trying. So the biggest thing that you can teach yourself is just start building momentum. Start taking some immediate action. You've created a list of all the things that you want out of your life. You've identified your role models of who you want to learn from to help you go get it. And now 3, you got to do something about it. You got to take some kind of action on it. If you've got a health goal, great. Do 4 push-ups. Maybe you can only do 2. Do 2 push-ups. Great. Some of you might be laughing. Say only 2 push-ups. Great. Do 20 push-ups. Do 100 push-ups. It doesn't matter. Is it the perfect fitness plan? No. Will it actually help you build your muscles? No, not from those 2 push-ups. But what does it do? It starts the ball rolling. It starts to rewire your brain to tell yourself that you're the kind of person who takes action. And that makes a big, 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 big difference. Because what's going to happen tomorrow is you're more likely to wake up and do it again. Because you've already started to teach yourself that you're the kind of person who follows through. Where if you just research and create a plan, tomorrow you're going to wake up and probably do no push-ups. Because you realize, oh, that was a silly plan. I can't do that. You're back to who you used to be. And then you don't follow through. So the most important thing, once you identify, you get a little bit of clarity, is to take some immediate action, no matter how small, no matter how insignificant it may feel. You want to build a YouTube channel? Great. Pull out your phone, make a video. What are you going to say? It doesn't matter. Say, I'm working on starting a YouTube channel. I don't know what I'm going to post, but I hope you join me in this journey. Great. Post. The first step doesn't matter how big it is. All that matters is that you took a step.
Rule number 5, the last one before our very special bonus clip, push yourself to the extreme.
People don't push themselves to the extreme. They just don't. It's because it's too hard. It's too crazy hard that you're not likely to do it on your own. And so I think when those opportunities come, learning to embrace them, learning to take them on, learning to say, this is my chance to show myself and the world what I am made of. This is my chance. But is it still your limit? So let me give you a couple examples. This morning, I woke up and I didn't have a lot of sleep. I went to bed at 3 something last night. I woke up at 7:20 this morning. I turned off the alarm, but still woke up at 7:20. Force a habit. And I'm not on a lot of sleep and I need to make a bunch of videos for you guys. And I want to bring my best. And I put pressure on myself that every video needs to be my best. I want it to be better. I want to grow. I don't want to just do the same thing over and over and over again. But it's a challenge. And so it's easy to say, oh, I'm so tired. Oh, I don't have energy. Oh, I wish I slept more. Or an excuse after excuse. But no, I'm going to go do it. And here I am. And I've made, I don't know how many videos already today. I'm closing in on finishing up. And I still have energy. And I'm pumped for how it went. And the story I'm telling myself is I'm awesome. Like, I had very little sleep. It's not how I want to be living every day. But when that happens, what do you do? How do you stand up? How do you show yourself what you're made of? But even that is not the biggest extreme. You know, like I feel like I'm capable of way more. My tour was the most that I'd ever pushed myself. Not just mentally, not just facing fears, but physically pushing myself. Where I broke my neck in 2 spots. I had a concussion. I've never had a concussion before. It was wild. Don't wish it on anybody if you haven't experienced it yet. Had 3 staples in my head. I compressed my spine. It was brutal. And I had to cancel my event in Denver where I was because it was that night. And then the next one was going to be in Kansas City. This is what I wore for 60 days. I wore these and I took them off for 10 minutes a day. 60 days, right? Like, this is what I'm made of. This is what I'm capable of. I'm complaining about having 4 hours sleep. I had my neck broken and continued on my tour. Across the US for 30 more days and another 30 days here in Toronto, seeing entrepreneurs sitting in pain at the front of the room with ice packs and pillows and not quitting and going home, even though I was in massive pain. Like, this is who I am. And I'm complaining about not having sleep the night before, right? Like, perspective. The greatest point on the tour for me was in Kansas City. It was my next stop. We refunded everybody the money because I wasn't going to be able to go for 3 hours. But I said, hey, we already booked this hotel venue. You guys already booked your night off. Why don't you just come out anyway? Just come on out and I'll go for an hour and take pictures and say hi and just show some Kansas City love. And I showed up and we went for an hour and a half. And then my wife pulled me off because my lips were starting to get dry because I wasn't being able to, answer questions as clearly as I'd like because I was still suffering from the concussion. The neck pain is one thing. That's just sitting still. I can't do anything about it. But the concussion, you're not supposed to think. You're not supposed to have conversations. It makes the recovery worse.
And so she was watching me like a hawk the whole night. She's watching me, and then she sees me start to fade. He's like, okay, that's it. I got to take Evan home. Quick pictures, and we got to go. I've never been pulled off a stage before. Never for sucking, or definitely for a physical issue. Never. It's never happened. This was me at my physical limit. That was it. I was done. I had actually nothing left. Like somebody had to come and say, you are done. The best, right? I mean, it sucked, but at the same time, it's like, man, this is it. I got to the edge. I got to the physical limitation. I can't go anymore. I'm being told I need to step down. And there's something so amazing that you feel about yourself that you were able to go that far. Now, you don't want to do that every day. You want to take care of your health. Of course. Don't do stupid things. And at the same time, the pride, the feeling of awesomeness that you hit that mark, I can't explain. So I started telling the people around me, my wife, my agent, the people on the tour, that we're planning a 2020 tour, and it's not going to be as good. This will be great. We're going to hit 23 cities, 90 days, East Coast, Texas, Mexico, Montreal. It's going to be fun, but it won't be as good because I'm not going to break my neck, right? I'm not going to forcefully go break my neck just because, right? That's stupid. Don't do that. don't go do that just because. And so I'm not going to face the same challenge. And so the point is, I'll still have a great time. It'll still be amazing. But what we went through, what I had to go through in 2019, this year, is foundational. Like, I'm going to remember this forever. This is who I am. This is who I am. Not the guy who thinks that 4 hours sleep and making some videos is a big deal, right? It just resets who you are and reminds you if you step up to the challenge of what you're capable of.
Books give you access to mentors who you would never have access to. If you are struggling, thinking, I don't have connections, I don't know anybody who's had success, I don't have any good mentors, everybody talks about mentorship and how important it is, and I don't have anybody in my life to help me. Books could be that for you. Books can be an accumulation of sometimes decades of knowledge, all condensed down into 200, 300, 400 pages that you get a window into somebody else's life. And so whatever you don't know yet, whatever you want to learn, chances are it's in a book. It's in videos as well. I love YouTube, but it can be in books. There's no excuse, not anymore, for you not to get access to the information and be around the people that can take you to where you want to go. I'm a big believer that you're a product of your environment. Think about who you're hanging out with, where you are right now, where you spend your time, what information are you feeding into your brain. The fact that you're here watching this video is already a step up, is already showcasing that you are an achiever and that you want more out of life, that you don't want to stay where you are, that you don't want to be in the same spot. Think about 1 year from today. You don't want to still be where you are right now, right? You want growth, you want progress, you want impact, you want to touch people's lives. That's why you're here. It just needs to be more consistent. It just needs to be more thorough. There's a expression of the fastest way to learn a language is to go to the country. The fastest way to learn Japanese is to go to Japan. And if you can't actually go to Japan, then you try to make your environment as much Japanese as possible. You watch Japanese TV, you read Japanese books, you go to Japanese restaurants, try to order in Japanese, you start hanging out with Japanese people, you take online Japanese classes, you watch Japanese YouTube channels. Like you try to be around it as much as possible. And for too many of us, we're not doing as much. Are you consistent in watching Espresso videos every morning? I make them every morning for you, but you're probably not watching them every morning. Are you consistent in your other habits and your other routines, in the books that you're reading, in the content you're consuming? Like, are you consistent enough? And that's usually the problem, is that you have these moments where you're bold and you're ambitious and like, I'm tired of this life and I want to do better and this is the day. And so you have the energy and motivation and you go off and do the thing. But then tomorrow you wake up and it's just not there anymore and you don't stay consistent on the habit. And the only difference between the people who've had tons of success and where you're at right now is that they just kept doing it. They just stayed consistent on the habit. And so if you look at reading as an example, I used to read a ton before YouTube came out, before videos. I'm a visual learner. I'd much rather watch something than read it. But there was no YouTube. There were no real videos to learn from. So I started with books. And now I've come back to books a little bit where I'm trying to read 10 pages a day. So the goal is 10 pages a day. And I've been 95% consistent on hitting 10 pages a day. And I also like to read 7 to 10 books at a time. And people think that that's crazy. Why 7 to 10 books at a time? Let me tell you why, and you can see if that's a fit for you or not. I think a book represents an idea. When you're reading a book, you step into somebody else's world, you step into somebody else's skin, you start to think like them. This is the point. If you're reading somebody's book, you start to think like them. If you're watching somebody's video, you start to think like them. That's why that habit is so important, because the more you're around it, you'll start to think like the people you want to be like, as opposed to thinking like the people who you're around right now. If you're around negative people, you start to think more negatively, right? You don't want that. You don't want to be the toxic person. And so when you're reading somebody's book or watching a video, you start to think like them. What I found was I would read one book at a time, and I would start to think like them, and then I would move on to the next book and then start to think like this other person, and then forgot about the first person that I really liked. You could be into the book, you could love it, like, wow, what a great book. And then as soon as you put it down because you're done and you pick up another book, it starts to fade. The half-life is really short. And reading the same book over and over and over again just loses its impact. Maybe you can read it once a year, but if you just pick up the same book and then read it on repeat, it loses its impact. Just like watching the same video loses its impact if you watch it every single day, every single day, every single day. So what I wanted to do was microdose on books. And it was an experiment, so I don't know if it's gonna work, but I tried it and I really liked it. So I microdose in that I take 10 pages a day, and it's usually between 10 and 20, mostly depending on where the chapter ends, so it's at least 10. So if a chapter ends at page 9, then I'm reading another chapter. So at least 10, and usually in the 10 to 20 page category. And I'll read 7 to 10 books at a time. And as I'm going through it, what I find is that how long that person's vibe lasts is much longer. So if I'm reading Jamie Kern-Lima's book, Believe It, great book if you haven't checked it out yet. She went from being a waitress to being selling her company for $1.3 billion in cash, not shares, not equity, cash. Crazy deal, amazing woman, great success story if you haven't heard of her yet. Jamie Kern-Lima. So as I'm reading her book, it's about believe, so it's already great. But she has a different way of seeing it, and she has just such a raw, vulnerable energy of sharing all of her weaknesses and insecurities. And as I'm reading the book, I feel like her, and I feel like I want to share more and dive deeper into my story. And she's exposing a part of me that I haven't discovered enough of, right? That's what a good book does, or a good video does. And so now I'm reading her book every 7 to 10 days, because I'm reading 7 to 10 books at a time. And what I find is I get a little bit of Jamie. If you get Jamie, once a week you get Jamie, once a week you get Jamie. It's that little bit of a reminder of the person that you want to be. Now, I don't want to be Jamie, but there's pieces of Jamie that will make me better. And I need that reminder, because I could call Jamie and ask her for advice, but I'm not hopping on a weekly call with Jamie. So I get that from the book. I like the variety of having a lot of different books on the go at a time. Not in one sitting, like one sitting is just one book at a time. I like looking forward to, like, I'm gonna read that next week again. So I look forward to when it's coming up. But I think the biggest benefit of reading so many books at a time is just that you carry the feeling with you for a longer period of time. Not even so much the tactics and the strategies in any good book, personal development book especially, but the vibe, the mindset, the feeling that person is. Because again, when you read somebody's book, you get engrossed, you become them almost. You start to think and feel like them, and you want that to last, but it doesn't last. So how do you make it last? You stretch out the book for longer periods of time. Anyway, it's a little hack that I do that is worth a shot. Give it a shot. Give yourself a small goal. 5 pages a day, 10 pages a day, 20 pages a day. It doesn't have to be sitting down and finishing a book a day, right? The people who can speed read and read a book a day, that's crazy. I haven't figured out how to do that yet. But 10 pages a day is doable. And 10 pages a day to step into somebody's world who you respect, who you want to learn something from. If you did that consistently, it'll start to change your life. If you watch videos like this, it'll start to change your life, but consistently, not the one-off, consistently. You know, are you 95% consistent on the things that will help take you to where you want to be? That's the only thing that's missing. You got the heart, you got the compassion, you got the desire to serve, you've got a big mission inside you, you want to do good, you deserve to make more money. It's all of it, it's all there. It's just not enough consistency in the pushing forward to the life that you could have. The consistency in being around the people who force you in a loving way to do more, to think more, to be more of you. If you can make that change, even just for the next quarter, for the next 90 days, that every day you read 10 pages of a book that inspires you, or every day for 90 days you watch an espresso video or somebody else's channel that inspires you, it'll change your life. And it'll start to set you up for the habits you need for success. Everybody knows the importance of mentors. Most of us don't have the right mentors in our life. And with videos and books, you have access to the top minds on the planet, to the most inspiring people in the world. And if you're hanging around them on a daily basis, you'll be a totally different person, a better you. Still you, but better. More proud of yourself, having a bigger impact, and making the money that you deserve for yourself, your family, and your community.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you're different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome.
If you want to learn how to take control of your life, check out the video next to me. I think you're gonna enjoy. Continue to believe. I will see you there.
You're always in control. You may not be in control of the world and the results that are happening and how people are acting around you, but you are always in control. You can be. You can choose to be in control of how you feel.